Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This session focuses on multilingual societies and status of languages. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would be able to understand the interrelationship of the two. Well, at the outset of the session, I would like to start with the idea of multilingualism. I hope and expect you already know what is multilingualism. Just to refreshen our memory, I would quickly say that multilingualism is the ability to use more than one languages, and not only as an individual but as a society. When a society possesses or owns or has more than one languages, two or more than two languages in this case, that is called a multilingual society. And also, just to refreshen the idea that multilingualism and bilingualism are used as equivalent terms in today's times. The second idea that I would quickly like to refresh about is multilingual practices. Now, what are the multilingual practices in multilingual societies? Multilingual practices are all those practices of language use where more than one languages are involved. For example, there can be code switching, there can be code mixing, there can be registers, there can be diglossia, there can be jargon, then there can be linguistic choices that are made in different domains of life for performing different functions. So, there are different kind of multilingual practices that take place in a society, and depending upon the nature of the functions that are performed, these linguistic practices take forms accordingly. When we compare this bio-multilingualism and bi- and multilingual practices, in a multilingual society, actually we need to also consider the idea that monolingualism does not exist as such as a norm today because of the changing sociocultural contexts, because of the emergence of media and new means of communication, and because of a lot of mobility in the world through new means of transportation, where the world has turned into a global village. Monolingualism does not exist as a norm, and it's very difficult to find a society that would be, strictly speaking, monolingual. Well, when more than one languages are spoken in a multilingual society, how does it link to the idea of the status of languages? How would you place those languages? Which one would be the least privileged? Which one would be the most prestigious? Which would come after the other or before the other in terms of linguistic hierarchy? Which would be given certain importance in terms of identity and ideological issues, etc. This is where, status of languages and multilingual societies connect. Also, there is always, in a multilingual society, a question of which one of those all languages would be a standard language. And the answer to this question is not very simple, because the answer also needs to address why that would be a standard language, why not any of the other languages. And this goes back to relate to the issues of standard language and the ideas of ideology, because in order to promote certain identities, in order to promote certain ideologies as political ideologies or as social ideologies, nations and states, they always promote certain languages. Now, when certain languages are promoted in a society by the stakeholders, for example, the political leaders, for example, the government, the educationists, etc., of course, certain kind of multilingual attitudes also generate in a society. The issues of identity are very complicated and very complex when it comes to multilingual societies, because at a single time point, a single person can have multiple identities. At the same time, I am a woman, I am a teacher, I am a Muslim, I am an educationist, I am a researcher, I am a daughter, I am a mother, and many, many, many other roles that I have in my life. Now, each of these identities, are my individual identities. But then there is another set of identities that adds to that, I being Punjabi speaker, I being, Pakistani. So, all these identities overlap with each other. And in each case, how do I make different choices of languages would depend upon different statuses that are attached to different languages in the society where I live. So, there would be certain situations, the situations that are very prestigious. I probably as a speaker would not like to use a local or a regional language for that. I would like to go for English as a choice because it has a superior status as compared to, Urdu or any local languages. So, in short, what I would say is that the status of languages in multilingual societies is determined by various ideological factors, and there are certain ideological positions that play their role in giving a certain position to a certain language amongst the other languages that are used in a multilingual society.